俺の弟子はとんでもない戦士になる。
Some anime characters fade into the background at first, but they go through a glow up so wild you're left with your jaw on the floor. Here are some of the best moments when cowards or weak characters turned into absolute legends.
バカな許せなかってめえら。
There's Talk no Jutsu, and then there's Reigen Arataka dropping a 1000% reality bomb and watching their egos disintegrate in real time. Up until now, Reigen's been the dude scamming spirits for pocket change, bullshitting his way through battles with his fake confidence. At first glance, Reigen doesn't even belong in the same room as Claw's 7th Division, but when Mob passes his powers to Reigen mid-battle, everything just shifts. Suddenly, Reigen isn't just bluffing anymore, he's actually doing something. The thing is, he still doesn't care. He's not trying to flex, he's trying to teach. Moving on, we arrive at Usopp versus Perona, one of the most unexpected, hilarious, and quietly brilliant fights in the entire series. This is where Usopp, the self-proclaimed coward, the liar, the comic relief, becomes an unstoppable force of pure negativity. You see, Perona's devil fruit is terrifying. She creates ghosts that instantly suck away a person's will to live, dropping warriors to their knees with suicidal despair. It's a mental nuke. But it doesn't work on Usopp, and it isn't about strength or haki. It's because he's already so deeply negative about himself that there's nothing left for her to drain. The scene is pure comedy gold, but the meaning behind it is also quite powerful. Here's a guy who constantly doubts himself, who feels useless compared to gods and monsters, and still he shows up, fights smart, and wins with grit, cleverness, and sheer emotional endurance. Next up, we have this underdog who turned his insecurities into strength. I'm talking about Okarun, unlocking Turbo Granny's powers. Our boy Ken Takakura, aka Okarun, doesn't just unlock a new power, he gets cursed with it. After an encounter with the unhinged Turbo Granny, Okarun gains a transformation that looks like something straight out of Tokyo Ghoul, but feels like a parody of every cool guy power-up in shonen history. It's a power-up that laughs at itself, while still delivering peak hype, and we love him for it.
反射的に体が動いたぜ。これがターボババアの力かよ。なえるぜ。
You know, I tried watching anime on the train last week with my old earbuds, and let's just say, the sound quality was so bad, it felt like Naruto was whispering filler arcs directly into my soul. Then I switched to this video sponsor's Raycon's Everyday Earbuds Classic, and suddenly every OST slapped harder than a shonen rival's entrance. These things are packed with features. We're talking active noise cancellation, so I can tune out the world when I'm grinding through editing, multi-point connectivity so I can swap from laptop to phone without rage quitting, and they stay put even when I'm running around like an anime protagonist in the opening sequence. And the features, battery life of 32 hours with the case, enough to binge an entire season. Quick charge gives me 90 minutes of playtime in just 10 minutes, basically the length of one dramatic JoJo pose. Plus, awareness mode keeps me alert when I'm out so I don't get isekai'd by a random truck-kun. And here's the flex. Raycon quality rivals the big guys, but at half the price. So click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/ViniiTubeYT for 20% off site-wide. I use these every day, and trust me, you should too.
雷の呼吸、一の型。
霹靂一閃
At first, Zenitsu feels like comic relief. He screams, he begs, he runs, he simps. It's almost a miracle he's still alive. But then episode 12 hits and everything changes. Thunder breathing, first form, thunderclap, and flash. Suddenly, the guy who couldn't stop crying moves like a bolt from the heavens. The visuals in this fight scene are insane, and before you even realize what's happened, the demon's already on the floor. This was the moment we were left speechless and realized he may be annoying, but he's him. He doesn't need 10 forms, just one done to perfection. Zenitsu isn't brave, he's terrified, but he still moves, and that makes him more badass than half the cool guys in anime.
死んでる急に死んでるよ何なのもうやだ何これ参る
At first, Rokuro looked like he was about to set a world record for cowardice. The monstrous enemy roared and our boy practically jumped out of his own skin, sweating, stuttering, and half ready to sprint in the opposite direction. I mean, he was hiding and watching as his comrade was being beaten up by this monstrous being, and one backstory later, something inside him snapped. Not fear this time, but resolve. Maybe it was pride, maybe it was survival instinct, or maybe he just got tired of almost wetting himself every 2 seconds. His blood powers flared, wrapping him in a storm of crimson energy, and suddenly the coward was gone. Rokuro changed, slashing through the monster with a strength he didn't even believe he had, proving even cowards can become legends. 総裁の舞
よくも許さない許さないぞ
なんだおい
母さんとお姉ちゃんに手を出すことは決してさせない
Here's what happens when you underestimate the quiet kid. It's a fight that turned a certified background character into a legend. I'm talking about Goichi clapping Tamami from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. When we first met Goichi, he was the softest and most cowardly person in the entire series. So when Tamami shows up with the lock, a stand that literally feeds off guilt, you already know Goichi's getting played. Tamami's whole deal is emotional manipulation, and Goichi, being the sweetheart that he is, folds fast. For a second, it's painful to watch, but then Echo's Act 1 is born, and everything changes. What follows is a total reversal. He literally weaponizes sound effects. He writes in the air, and when he hits Tamami with the "Believe in me" so hard that it becomes reality, that was the turning point. Goichi goes from a trembling sidekick to a guy who makes his enemies beg for mercy.
でも万が一があるなら
We now have a moment nobody saw coming. Takemichi's punch heard around the fandom. A moment so legendary that it made the entire Tokyo Revengers fandom pause mid-breath when Takemichi, the self-proclaimed crybaby hero, made Daiju Shiba hit the ground. Now, let's be real, Daiju wasn't an ordinary villain, he had a god complex. I mean, if I were Daiju, I would have turned out like him too. In front of him was Takemichi, who could barely fight without crying in Season 1. But something shifted in Season 2 when he was fighting for Yuzuha, for Hakkai, and for all of Toman. And when that punch landed on Daiju's face, it shook all of us along with Daiju himself. That was the moment we stopped calling Takemichi a crybaby and started calling him a legend.
あなたたち銃撃犯ですよね
Swerving our way to the next one, we have Gobeni completely flipping the entire tone of Chainsaw Man. The moment that made us all take Gobeni seriously for the first time ever. Up until that point, Gobeni was the team's anxiety mascot. Crying, screaming, nearly getting iced every 5 minutes. But when Katana Man and the Snake Devil started taking down the squad, Gobeni just snaps. The way she dodges those bullets alone sent chills down my spine. She even pulls out Olympic level acrobatics while holding a kitchen knife. I'm pretty sure Gobeni haters switched up hard after this scene.
人が死ぬのも俺が死ぬのも怖い。
もう一度ノルド戦士の勇気を見せてみろ。
違う。こんなもん勇気じゃねえ。
ノルド戦士の名誉もどうでもいい。降伏する。
Out of nowhere, Olmar from Vinland Saga finally stands tall. From day one, this man was the goofy little brother who wanted to be a warrior just to feel important. He fantasized about glory, honor and fame, just like a lot of us did growing up, thinking that war would make us look brave and cool, but reality doesn't play like a shonen anime, and Olmar learned that the hard way. After watching blood being spilt, being humiliated, and triggering a massacre he never truly understood, Olmar breaks down. He understands it now. He finally has the balls to stand up against his brother Torgil because he was just tired. Tired of pretending to be someone he's not. Tired of living in his brother's shadow. Tired of watching people die. This was Olmar's awakening, and he finally understood what it means to be a real man and a real warrior.
おい早く言ってくれみんな地球も宇宙もどうなってもいいのかバカ野郎
なんだとバカ野郎だと
貴様ら貴様らいい加減にしろ。さっさと協力しないか。このミスター・サタン様の頼みも危険というのか。
サタンだ
There are cowards, and then there's Mr. Satan. The guy who took full credit for beating Cell, hides behind PR stunts, and still somehow calls himself Earth's champion. But when it actually mattered, when the Earth needed a hero, he stood tall. During the final battle with Kid Buu, Goku begged the people of Earth to lend him their energy for the Spirit Bomb. But nobody listened. You can't really blame them though, can you? Babidi had just hijacked everyone's minds the day before. They thought that this random voice that's now asking for energy must be a scam. But then Mr. Satan stepped forward with no powers, no strength, no reason to believe it would work. He threw pride out of the window and pleaded with humanity. And they listened, because if Earth trusted anyone, it was him. The man who they thought saved the world finally actually saved it. It's not always the strongest who saves the day. Moving on to our next underdog, we have Otto, a certified Subaru victim and honorary punching bag of fate. This is when we started seeing him as less of a background character and more of a legend in the making. Now, this is the same Otto who used to cry over spilt oil, literally. The guy whose biggest flex was talking to bugs. He was the funny sidekick, the one who runs, not fights. But when it came down to lying button Kaitos, Sin Archbishop of Gluttony, a full-blown lunatic who eats names and memories like snacks, Otto flinched. But he still stood his ground, because this wasn't about being brave, it was about protecting his people, protecting Subaru. For once, Otto wasn't reacting, he chose to fight. Sure, he didn't have the power to take Lie down for good, what he did was have courage. He held out just long enough to turn the tide. In a world where monsters eat your soul, Otto became the guy who bites back.
同情とかしちゃうわけ安っぽいねお兄さん一本ずつ行こうかいただきます
And then we've got the ultimate no powers, no problem moment. Moomin Rider versus the Sea King. Now, let's be honest, Moomin Rider had zero chance. Sea King had already bodied A-classes and an actual S-class hero like it was nothing. And Moomin Rider had nothing but a busted bike and the ultimate courage to stand up against someone as terrifying as the Deep Sea King. He knew he was going to lose, but he fought anyway. This alone was a middle finger to fear itself. And when he gets smacked down, he gets up again and again. It's nothing but pure, stubborn courage. It was something more heroic than any flashy superpowers. Sure, he didn't win the battle, but he earned something way more valuable. The respect of everyone watching. And when Saitama finally shows up to end it in one punch, it doesn't take away from Moomin's moment. In fact, it actually elevates it. Moomin Rider is proof that you don't need insane power to be a real hero.
期待されてないのは
撃たれるだけのノロがあがくな。
Shooting its way on the list, we have Juggernaut from Fire Force. When the battlefield called for a shield, Juggernaut was the one to answer. This was the moment when Takeru became a man. See, Juggernaut isn't exactly main character material. At first, Juggernaut is the last person you'd expect to stand tall in a moment like this. He's the big guy with the coward's heart, clumsy, nervous, and terrified of battle. The kind of guy who apologizes while panicking. But when Tamaki is on the verge of death and the enemy starts to crush them, something inside him snaps. And somehow, this nervous wreck becomes the hardest man on the battlefield. Still a little scared, he fights anyway. Every injury fuels his body and pushes him to be more aggressive. What starts as a desperate attempt to protect her turns into one of the most jaw-dropping moments in the series. My glorious man earned his name that day. He tanks every attack like an absolute legend and cements himself as one of the bravest characters in Fire Force. Ayana-mi.
イカリ君、ごめんなさい。イカリ君をエヴァーに乗らないで済むようにできなかった。
いいんだ。ありがとう。
Not all heroes have a leave it to me energy. Some just show up when it counts. Like Shinji Ikari, the poster child for reluctant hero turned into an absolute legend. So let's not sugarcoat it. Shinji Ikari spends most of Evangelion wanting to run away, scared of responsibility, pain, even his own Evangelion. In the end of Evangelion, he reaches his breaking point and still finds a shred of resolve. The world literally falls apart around him, yet Shinji makes a final choice born from his fear. He steps into Unit 01 one last time. It's messy, it's desperate, he almost ends the world in his attempt to not lose anyone else. But what matters is that for the first time, Shinji decides something for himself. Terrified and sobbing, he faces the apocalypse on his own terms. In the end, it's not about power or giant robots, it's about a boy who finally stops running. Shinji's last act isn't a cool victory, it's painfully human. And in Evangelion, that's what makes it legendary. You laughed, you joked, but this pig broke the fandom's heart. We've got Hawk, the walking bacon joke who made everyone cry. Yeah, he's a pig, a literal talking pig. But in Seven Deadly Sins, when things go to hell and Meliodas is stuck in purgatory, it's Hawk who dives into the abyss without any hesitation whatsoever. And that's exactly what makes it so gut-wrenching. This little guy was always scared, always underestimated, and brushed off as comic relief. But when he flung himself into eternal torment just to bring back a friend, now that was legendary. All of us literally turned into one massive tissue box. That one scene turned a joke character into one of the most beloved characters in the series. And honestly, honestly was still not over it. It was the moment that made it clear to all the fans that Hawk was more than a pet. He was a family.
ホークちゃん、起きて。またいつものように喋って。ダメよ。一人で勝手にさよならなんて。
山頂は俺の生きてる証。絶対に取るんだ。
Who needs muscles when you've got heart and indestructible dreams? Moving on to Sakamichi Onoda, the awkward otaku turned unstoppable cyclist from Womamushi Pedal. And if you've made it all the way through the series, you just know how legendary that final race was. Onoda wasn't born an athlete. He started off biking just to get to Akihabara for anime merch. He didn't know anything about gears, pacing, or even proper posture, but what he did have was heart and a love for the ride. Slowly, painfully, and against all odds, he earned the respect of his teammates and rivals alike. And when it came down to the wire, when the whole season had built to that final race, Onoda didn't just rise to the occasion, he just defined the occasion. Smiling through pain, singing Hime Hime, and climbing like his life depended on it, he pedaled past the impossible. That last push against Manami wasn't just a win for Sohoku, it was a win for everyone who ever felt out of place, underestimated, or told that they just weren't good enough.
見えた。この距離。取るよ。僕が取る。最長橋を
やっぱりそうか。
Here we have a hidden OP fighter with fear holding him back, but this time Stark broke his limits. Stark, the so-called coward, is squaring off against the Solar Dragon. This battle is all about who's moving first, and when Stark moves, everything changes. The way his axe strikes with such force that he's launched backwards mid-air. I mean, the dragon's pupils dilated in its final moment. The raw panic turned into resolve. The fact that this entire clash lasts exactly 30 seconds, just as Frieren told him. The man knew he was built differently, but his hesitation always pulled him back. During this fight, Stark fights with his own insecurities and reminds himself of the potential hidden deep inside him. This guy has everything in him to become a legendary warrior if it wasn't for his self-esteem. It's a work in progress, but hey, after this fight, he's on his way to becoming an absolute legend. Sometimes standing up means getting knocked down again and again. Stepping out of dragon-slaying battles and legendary warriors, we drop straight into one of the most emotionally charged fights in all of Naruto. It's easy to forget that these were still kids, but in this match, they carried the full weight of a broken clan system on their backs. Neji, cold and bitter from years of being branded and treated like a tool. Hinata, timid and quiet, but trying so desperately to prove she wasn't weak. Neji told her to forfeit. Twice. Not out of mercy, but because he believed fate had already decided she would lose. But Hinata didn't back down at all. She stood her ground anyway, even when she was clearly outmatched. Even when the blows became more and more hostile, she kept standing. It was honestly so painful to watch, and somehow, through blood and broken ribs, Hinata still managed to stand tall, whispering, "I'm not going to run away anymore."
敵の経絡系に直接ダメージを与える。
なんで？
いいからなくすなよ。
まさか。
Let's move on to the absolute comic relief in Dragon Quest, Pop. This was the dude that everyone clowned early on in the series. I mean, he really asked for it, didn't he? He was always freaking out and running away while the real fighters did all the heavy lifting. But here comes the moment when Pop goes from a certified coward to a certified legend. The moment he stands alone against Baran, one of the strongest beings in the entire series. See, Pop didn't just attack Baran with any kind of flashy or overwhelming superpower, he attacked Baran with courage, with loyalty, with the kind of ride or die energy that makes even the strongest rethink what power really means. This was the moment Pop stopped being just a cowardly sidekick and became a true hero. No cap, this scene lives rent-free in every Dragon Quest fan's heart.
お前といろいろあったけどメガンテポップごめんごめんよダイクポップ病気なんて蹴散らしちゃえそしてまた一緒に二人で
Well, you didn't expect this one now, did you? Some moments are loud, explosive, and unforgettable because of their scale, and some are quiet, but they gut you just as hard. Gosei's final performance in Your Lie in April is exactly that kind of moment. Let's just not forget, Gosei Arima used to be a ghost behind a piano. He was a prodigy, sure, but one paralysed by trauma. After his mother's death, he couldn't even hear the sound of his own music. He'd flinch at the keys, drowning in fear, guilt, and self-hatred. The world saw talent, but Gosei saw only failure. Every time he ran from the stage, it was like watching someone bury themselves alive. But then came Kaori. Through chaos, colour and heartbreak, she dragged him out of his own shadow. And when she left, Gosei didn't run this time. He stood up and played the most legendary performance of his life. Gosei knew she was gone. He knew this was goodbye, but instead of breaking, he told her story through music. He left a legacy that we'll never forget. And with that, we're wrapping up our list of when cowards in anime turned into absolute legends. There's no way that we've covered them all, is there? So drop your favourite moments in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more juicy anime content. I'll catch you in the next one.